Hello again, my YouTube audience. This is Mama Pray Lifestyle. Once again, here to introduce to you a book that I have written. And this one is called Teaching the New Generation. And I believe today that our school is doing beautiful. But our children, our students, they have their learning style. And we are aware that there are 5 stages of learning. We have spatial, we have kinesthetic, we have visual, we have audio, and we have musical. And so, as we understand that these 5 learning styles is in our classroom every day. So, being a substitute teacher, I am aware of the styles of learning that appears in our classroom daily. And so, I thought about it, and I create a book that I believe the school system would appreciate and will appreciate worldwide. This book, as I've told you, teaching the new generation. Teaching the new generation. I put a lot of work and time in creating this book because it is not just a book, but it is a project that can be used. Is furthermore state rebuilding education through stability, engagement, and shared responsibility. It is a practical guide for schools, families, and communities. So this book was created not just for reading and doing assignments, but it was created as a practical guide for teachers. And so I created in such a way that the lesson plan that is taught in it, that's taught using this method, integrated educational stability framework, that's what I'm calling it, is an original educational model developed by the author, yours truly. Right? The information provided in this publication is offered as a general educational framework and does not constitute legal, medical, psychological, or professional advice. Implementation of strategies described herein should be adapted to local regulations, institutional policies, and individual student needs. The author, publisher disclaim any liability arising from the application or interpretation of the content. And I'm just going to find a section in it that will tell a little bit of what this book is about. We will have the assessment, traditional assessment, understanding rather than reliance on memory-based testing alone. Traditional assessment often emphasize short-term memorization, which does not accurately reflect a student's ability to understand, apply, or retain knowledge. While foundational knowledge is important, true learning is demonstrated when students can use information meaningfully explain concepts clearly, and apply skills in real world or problem solving contexts. Practical based assessment allows students to show what they know by demonstrating skills, explaining concepts in their own words, teaching or guiding peers, applying learning to real life situations. We go further on in the foundation of learning. Number 1, understanding the new generation, Gen Z and beyond. How children learn, learning styles and learning population. We understand that they are visual, auditory, kinesthetic, spatial, musical. The learning tree revisited. What do I know? What have I learned? What do I want to know? Learning through experience. Part 2, practical first and student as teacher model. Practical learning before theory. Give them the work, the assignment, send them home. Give them a guide to follow and have them come back as a teacher student to apply the instruction that was given to them and see how their practicality have enforced what you want them to apply in the learning method. And so I have thinking about the practical learning before theory, and then you go the proof-based assessment, learning through teaching. Have them teach whatever you want. That's an assignment. Creating student teachers from age 5. Information, knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. I thought about the amoeba as a model. The amoeba it has a life, it is function, and it has a purpose. The bee, that's another one, is the bee colony. It has an organization, role, and societal impact. And we have also human dignity, ability, and purpose in society. So when I apply the amoeba learning style, you think of the amoeba as a unicellular creature. It has no eyes, it just moves. It's a unicellular creature, but is this we'd say, does this mean that because the amoeba don't have a hand, it don't have a feet, it don't have a eye, but it's a cell that moves. It is a cell that is in our environment. And is it important? So we're trying to let our kids see through the physical world and understand the purpose of individual, or the purpose, even as the bees. They may look at the bees and say, oh, the bees is just a bee, but how important is the bee? We need the bee to pollinate. So this is what we are trying to do in practical learning. The bee needs to pollinate the flower. And when they pollinate the flower, we get fruits. They get the nectar. They go and they create the honey. So you're teaching our student visual learning, because they're seeing the bee. You're teaching them the importance of the bee colony. You're teaching them how important the bee is. So don't kill the bee, because if you kill the bee, we won't have. So how does the bee apply into society in real life scenario? So you're letting them understand the importance of the bee. They just see the bee, but once you give them that assignment will open their cognitive understanding as to why the bee is important, because they went home, they did a study, and they are coming to present their book report or teach a class what they have learned. So now they become a co-teacher. And the teacher will be evaluating the student as they teach the lesson plan on the importance of the bee. And so that further on give our children across the board with the 5 learning style, whether they are musical, whether they are spatial. When the person comes in, you're going to give them the assignment, the lesson plan, where it covers the 5 learning style. So you're going to let them know that you want they to ask a student in the class who is very good in spatial drawing to draw an image of the bee on the blackboard. So there you have the spatial learner is up on the blackboard while the teacher student is telling them what to do. I needed to draw this, and I also needed to label the anatomy of the bee on the blackboard. Right there, they are practical, doing this practical thing, while the teacher student went home, did their research, because you gave them the assignment the way you want it to be done. You have the musical learner. You can ask the musical learner if he is going to present his assignment. You can ask him to create a jingle about the bee. So he comes in the classroom and he makes a jingle that tells about the anatomy of the bees, tell about why the bee is important in real life scenario, and tells about how do real life associate with the bee. And he will sing and say, without the bee, we don't have any food. We need a bee, to go on the plant, take the nectar, and to bring the nectar into and pollinate the trees, one tree to the next tree, so that we can have food. And then they will say, oh, how important is the bee? So they create the lesson plan musically to you. And so the whole class who learning, they would come in with a jingle. And they would say, worker bee, worker bee, worker bee. Let's do the worker bee dance. The worker bee work for the queen bee. The worker, and then he would create. He says something about the drone, Mr. Drone. Mr. What do you do, Mr. Drone? And they tell what the drone bee does. And they create it, and all the class would come in because they are getting it both audio, spatial, musical, and kinesthetic. The kinesthetic learner is the one you would give them the Lego stuff to put an image of the bee together. They would create the hive with whatever Lego blocks you have, because they have to build, and then they would create a hive with the Lego. They would create the bee with the Lego blocks, and they would be labeling these stuff, and then they would write in their books what they have learned from it. So straight across the border, this lesson plan will be teaching. And so, because they're so involved in the assignment, that's why I'm talking about practical, then theory after, then assessment after. And so this is how this book was created, so that it can be taught from every grade levels all the way up to high school, because you are teaching them real life scenario. It doesn't matter what. If it's mathematics, we can teach the lesson plan using the practical style of learning, and then the assessment. You can ask them. If it's mathematics, you can ask them. We're gonna build a house. Give them the measurement of the house. Help them to calculate the amount of blocks, building blocks, they would need to know. And they can all do it musical. They can all do it in the spatial, because they draw it, and they can all do it kinesthetic. And the person who understands audio will know exactly what to do. And this is why this book is important. My aim is that we will cut out the distraction in the class when we involve them at the stage of how they learn. The spatial learner will be involved in the lesson plan, the way they learn. because they know that they can draw great, and they will draw anything. If you want them to draw a house, they will draw a house. They can use their ruler, and they can create building blocks and say, we have 10 building blocks up, the length is 10 blocks, the width is 6 blocks, and they can create it, and they can tell you because they know how to draw. And we can educate them in a way that even though they are kinesthetic learners, they can do this because they are putting stuff together. They're understanding, they'll read it, and they'll make a jingle from it and present the lesson plan to you. And so I believe that having parent in the classroom at least once out of the month, they come to the classroom and assist the teacher in the classroom, will help to lessen the bullying in class and the distraction, because no student want to misbehave when they know the parent are there or when they know there's a stranger there. And you can have a different parent in the classroom right through the month, 30 days in the month, or 31 days. You can have a different parent in the classroom. So you may say, how are these parents going to come when they have to go to work? Well, we can implement what we implement when we ask citizens to go to jury duties. Their employer would let them go because it is a civil requirement for the citizen of the country. And so they will file for it in their tax return. They can get back the time, file for it in their tax return that they gave this amount of time to the parents so they can assist in the education of our student. And so it's a win-win. The employer will get a tax break. The school will spend less money in paying for behavioral issues, employing security in the school in order to get the children settled down. The classroom management will be more manageable. The parent or the guardian that comes to assist the one day out of the month would have learned something, what is happening in the school, so that when the children go home, they too can assist them in their assignment because they are in the class and they have an understanding. The teacher will allow the parents to go home with an assignment also. And so the parent will also get credit for being in the classroom for at least 2 years. Maybe they can become a paraprofessional if they so required. After being in the class, they'll get a certificate that gives them a certificate that states that they are now a paraprofessional because of the time they spend in the classroom. Our general community will not have so many kids out on the street, doing what they're not supposed to be doing because they have all these assignments to be done. Parents will be assisting them. And so the destruction and the misconduct in the community will be lessened because the children them is so much involved in learning that they give less problem in the community. They're not coming out to play and be distracted because parent now is a part of their children learning. And it's a win-win. The school will move from a C school or a D school to a A or a B school because every student is involved. They're like student teachers. They feel like they have acquired attention when they become a student teacher because the teacher is now evaluating what they do, guiding them. Less distraction, more classroom management, and less teacher leaving the workforce because they feel so overburdened and feel like they can't control the class. I think this is a book that needs to be given a chance to be looked at and, and see the foundation of learning, the practical first and student as teacher model that will be enhanced. That is a part of it, of the curriculum. Nature-based learning model. We'll have inclusive classroom design, parents teachers partnership, school stability and student well-being, teacher support and retention, government employer and economic alignment, policy implementation and scaling, outcome and societal impact, certification and training, and final status and declaration. And so this is a lot, it's deep, so I am introducing to you teaching the new generation. Check it out. You can get it on Amazon, this book, and you can also request it from yours truly, $25. God bless you.